Welcome to the Archaeology Studio. Today's episode looks at the records of Ashurbanipal at Nineveh of ancient Assyria. By the end of this episode, you will be familiar with the range of evidence from Ashurbanipal's time at Nineveh. You can consider how this information relates with broader contexts, and you can develop new ideas and questions of your own interests. Nineveh today is within modern-day northern Iraq. Thousands of years ago, however, it was a major settlement and population center of ancient Assyria in Mesopotamia, the land between the rivers of the Tigris and the Euphrates. With the reliable river water and fertile soils, this region supported many cultural groups and impressive developments for thousands of years. Within this ancient context, the reign of Ashurbanipal was toward the end of the Assyrian kingdom. Ashurbanipal ruled about 668 through 627 BC. He inherited a kingdom that had existed perhaps as early as 2500 BC, and it had undergone numerous transformations through time. Ashurbanipal was king during the late Iron Age of the region. Historians have labeled this period the Neo-Assyrian kingdom. Like most of the Assyrian kings before him, Ashurbanipal engaged in military campaigns to expand the kingdom, and he faced threats both internally and externally. Ashurbanipal continued to occupy the old city of Nineveh as the royal capital, with his own modifications and contributions. He was known especially for a cuneiform library and numerous carved stone artworks that commemorated his reign. Nineveh had been an important settlement at least since 3000 BC, and probably predating the Assyrian kingdom itself. The capital city of ancient Assyria had shifted periodically among Assur, Kalhu or Nimrud, and Nineveh. Eventually, Ashurbanipal inherited the city of Nineveh that had been renovated extensively by King Sennacherib after 700 BC. By the time when Ashurbanipal resided as king at Nineveh, the city was well established with walls, gates, and roads. The city was situated on slightly elevated terrain above the flood level of the Tigris River. The river supplied reliable fresh water, and it continually replenished the fertile soils. Smaller streams and artificial canals brought water directly to the city. Mostly after 650 BC, Ashurbanipal sponsored his major contributions in construction projects and artworks at Nineveh. Among two large palace compounds, the most extensive archaeological discoveries have been reported at the area known as the Citadel Mound or the Elite Residence. The findings here, and particularly at the North Palace, have been greatly informative about the years of King Ashurbanipal. The impressive body of evidence has included the stonework architectural ruins, statues, carved relief panels, a cuneiform archive, and many diverse materials linked with the historical records. Among the many archaeological discoveries at Nineveh, one of the most popular has been a set of carved relief panels depicting a lion hunt of Ashurbanipal. The scene here refers to the tradition of kings conquering the natural world through their acts of lion hunting. This tradition would have been familiar throughout the surrounding region, and it could be traced back many centuries prior to Ashurbanipal's time. In this case, the lion hunt actually was a carefully controlled event. Lions were kept in captivity, and they were released into a guarded area where the king and his attendants could hunt and kill the lions. The king and the hunters rode on horses. Mostly they hunted with bow and arrow from a distance, but some of the images show direct contact with handheld weapons of a spear or a sword. All of the participants appear to be following the orders of King Ashurbanipal, who clearly is the leader and center of attention. The lion hunt was only one of the numerous scenes depicted in the carved relief panels at Nineveh. Among the other panels, a popular theme involved religious rituals and performance by the king and by protective spirits. One panel in particular showed an ensemble of 3 protective spirits. Each one could be identified by a signature set of head dressings, weapons, and other regalia. At the left-hand side was a Lamnu, or hairy spirit. At the center was an Ungalu, or great lion. At the right was a house god. In a larger view, carved relief panels were popular throughout several centuries of the Assyrian kingdom and throughout the neighboring regions. The theme of protective spirits was especially popular at royal palaces. In addition to the carved reliefs on the walls, some of the floor pavings were decorated in prominent places, such as doorways. In one doorway paving, a carved relief shows the same patterns as seen in traditional hand-woven carpets. Probably the greatest source of knowledge about Ashurbanipal's life and about his world has come from the cuneiform archive or library at Nineveh. Among the thousands of cuneiform tablets, many have preserved the royal correspondence and record-keeping details, directly applicable for interpreting the ruins and artifacts at Nineveh, and more broadly across the Assyrian kingdom. Other tablets contain wide-ranging information about the natural world, historical events, and religious philosophies. Several of the cuneiform inscriptions appear to be records of Ashurbanipal's communications with the gods. Others offer instructions and guidance about omens, sacrifices, and rituals. Further information can be found in categories of calendars, prayers, magic, medicine, and more. The cuneiform records have endured through thousands of years, impressed into clay and sometimes carved into stone. As a result, the cuneiform has expanded our ability today for interpreting the ancient archaeological evidence. During the time when these tablets originally were used, they enabled convenient communication, record-keeping, and control of knowledge. Ashurbanipal in particular made a practice of keeping extensive records in cuneiform, not only in his royal library archive, but also throughout his life. Fragments of cuneiform tablets reveal aspects of Ashurbanipal's life before he was king. When he was about 13 years old, he wrote to his father, boasting about his cleverness in school. Around the same time, other cuneiform tablets have survived from Ashurbanipal's teacher, adding more perspective about Ashurbanipal's younger years. While he was king, Ashurbanipal created a set of chronicles that proclaimed his admirable achievements and divine status. These chronicles were made as clay prisms, impressed with cuneiform on all sides. They were buried beneath important buildings, especially at Nineveh, where they became part of the land itself and attested to Ashurbanipal's greatness into the future. Toward the end of his reign, Ashurbanipal's cuneiform inscriptions declined in number, or at least very few have survived. Among Ashurbanipal's last known inscriptions were poignant words of an aged king, reflecting on the hardships of his life and thinking forward to future generations. The combined archaeological and historical records at Nineveh offer considerable information about what life was like during the time of Ashurbanipal. Most of this information pertains to the royal contexts and duties, infused with religious philosophy and ideology justifying the king's authority and actions. The evidence at Nineveh, of course, involves more than the royal contexts, and in fact, much still can be explored about how people lived in the city, in surrounding areas of the Assyrian kingdom, and in neighboring regions. In a long-term chronological view, Ashurbanipal's time at Nineveh was constrained to just a few decades near the end of the Assyrian kingdom. While those few decades can be studied with precision, they can gain more significance when viewed as part of a longer narrative of the region's archaeology and ancient history. In concluding this episode, now you should be familiar with the records of Ashurbanipal at ancient Nineveh. You can situate the range of evidence within broader contexts, and you can relate this information with questions of your own interests. Please remember to subscribe to this channel and never miss another episode of the Archaeology Studio.